Hello guys, Dan here and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I wanna do something different. I wanna time how much time is needed to paint one of the starter packs. So for this video I will use the Bakunin starter pack that I have here. So this will include everything like from assembling the models, cleaning the mold lines, doing the bases, priming the models, and then painting them. So I want to time to see actually how much time is needed to complete all of this. I won't time the time that I'm using for my breaks, but I will just time the full working time. And if you like this video, maybe in the future I can do something similar with bigger sets. And guys, one more request before we start. If you have time, please subscribe to the channel and ring that little bell notification so you get notified every time I upload new videos. It will actually help me a lot, and it will help this channel grow in the future. So without further ado, let's start and do this.
I will start this little timer that I prepared because it can measure like each segment of the painting, so I will show you. And then I started with assembling the models and cleaning the mold lines. I was very thorough with cleaning and tried to clean as much as possible now, so I don't need to do any extra cleaning after. I finished assembling cleaning now. As you can see, I spent a little more than 1 hour, and now I'm ready to prime the models. I will use a black primer, and in this case I will use my airbrush just to speed up the things, and it is much easier and better because I have more control with the airbrush when I'm doing the priming. The thing here that I want to achieve is that I want to have even coat all around the model. So I will apply this in 3 very thin passes with my airbrush just to have a pure black tone of color, and I don't want to see any metal under it. I finished the priming and everything is dry now, so as you can see it took me around 15 minutes including the drying time. So now I will proceed into painting. Actually, before I start with painting the models, I will prepare the bases because they will need a lot of time to dry, so I will try to save some time now. For this, I decided to make them some red Martian Earth-like, so I will use Martian Ironcrust, which is a technical paint from Games Workshop, and I will apply it just straight from the pot in the one thick pot. And I will just dab it on top of the bases so I have a good cover, and then I will leave it outside to dry. First color that I will apply will be a Scarlet blood, and I will apply this paint in 2 or 3 very thin coats to have a good coverage and good tone of color. And I will do this on every model. So I will just paint on one model, leave it on the side to dry, then I will pick up another model, I will do one layer, then I will leave it on the side to dry, and then I will go like a moving track, like doing one by one models until I'm satisfied with the coat. So this is like the final result that I got, and the coverage was really satisfying, so I couldn't see any black under it, so I was happy to proceed further. The next color I need to block will be off-white. because I want these armors to be white later. So I will use Celestra Grey just to put a base color. This paint is slightly transparent, so I need to use two very thin coats to have a good coverage. So I went on and off until I was satisfied with the level of contrast I got, and this is how it looked at the end. So it didn't took me actually a lot of time, and I was happy to go to the next color. There is a few models with human skin tones, so I will pick up Bugmans Glow and I will just paint the skin with this color. There is one moderator who have a green skin, so for his skin I use a refractive green, and I applied this paint in two very thin coats. I was just be careful here because the details on his face are very small, so if you apply a thick layer of paint you will probably destroy those details, so be careful there. I added quite amount of water to this paint, so as you can see it's very transparent, so that can I apply it in a few thin coats to have a good tone of paint. For the Morlock that have a metal skin, I will just use a metallic paint. This is a Leadbelcher, which is a slightly darker metallic paint, and it have a perfect coverage, so only one thin coat is enough to have a decent layer of the paint. So I will block all the metallic parts except his sword, because I want to give a sword a different color. Next thing that I'm going to do is to paint all the clothing items, like the boots, the coats and the pants, and for this I will create a slightly darker gray color. So I will mix a little of white, like maybe 10% of white into my black, and then I will start just painting the raised areas of the pants, like the flat surfaces, the ridges, and I will try to leave the recesses still black. I will also go around the boots and the coats and just do the little edges. This will be my base for the next layer of the highlights after shading. So this is just like a little sketches just to block some points of the light, so I can know later how to highlight them. For the LED lights on their gauntlets and guns and the hair of this moderator, I will use light sea blue and apply this paint in two very thin coats, just to have a good layer of paint before I start shading. And this color have a pretty good coverage, so there was not any trouble. Just be careful here when you paint with this, you don't want to see any black under it after you are done. Now, to save up some time, I will do the old Taro wash of the whole miniature. So I will mix 50-50 dark tone with quick shade wash medium. If you don't have this one, you can use a Noon oil, just dilute it with some Lamian medium, so it's not that dark. And then I will go and I will do a thorough wash of 100% of the miniatures. Meanwhile, to save some time while my wash on the minis are drying, I will use the same mix of wash and wash all the bases. I will show you now how my models look after the wash has been completely dried. It took around 25 minutes for everything to dry properly. As you can see, on some places I have some pullings like on the shoulder of this guy, but it's not a big deal because now we will go into the highlight stage and we are going to fix everything and bring these models to their final look. Just to let you know, at this stage I was already 5 hours and 1 minute into this video. To start off with the highlights, I will first start working on the white armor panels. I will pick up Ulthuan Grey and I will go all over the model's white armor panels in two very thin coats to have a good coverage. At this stage you don't want to go inside the recesses, so you just want to paint the flat surfaces and the high surfaces that are mostly exposed to the light. I will show you how I did it on this moderator, but it's the same principle on all other miniatures from this box. For the final highlights on the white parts on these models, I will just use a pure white and do a little edge highlight on all the sharp edges of these panels. You won't be able to see this on camera very well because of the color balance, but in the real life there is a good distinction between these two tones. I will now proceed to highlight the red. I will pick up Evil Sun Scarlet and I will repaint the previous red because it got very desaturated from the wash. The thing here is that you want to leave all the recesses and the shadows intact, and also all the areas that are under, like the part of this cloak that is under his legs, you will cover with only one very thin coat, while the rest you will go twice, so the color will become more vibrant on the areas that you went two times over. Don't go inside the recesses here because we want to keep our shadows intact, so we don't need to do anything else with this color. Now I will add a little of sunny skin tone into my Evil Sun Scarlet and start highlighting. I will do a little highlight here, so I will do like a edge highlight, but really thicker lines. And if I do the armor highlights, I will highlight the most raised areas. I won't touch any recesses. If I'm highlighting clothes, I will just highlight the ridges and folds of the clothes. For the final highlight, I will add a little of the ivory to the previous mix, just to make the brightest highlight color. And then I will go and just put very little highlights on the points that are most exposed to the light. So in this case you would like to do some edges, like the edges of the clothes of the folds, the most raised areas. On these armor panels you will do just the little dots here and there, just to create a little reflections. Next step that I'm going to do is to highlight all the faces and the skin. I will use a Cadian Fleshtone first and try to repaint like 80 to 90% of the previous surfaces that I painted before the shade, but I will try to avoid all the recesses on the face, like the eye sockets and the nose, around the nose and the lips. And to finish off with the skin, I will take a Kislev Flesh and I will do a little highlights just on the most raised areas on the face, like cheeks, forehead, nose, top of the lips, chin. So just do a little highlights and that will be enough. For the green moderator, I will use Escropena green as my first highlight on his skin, and I will use totally same method and follow the same rules as I did with the human skin tones. And for the final highlight for his skin, I will mix a little of sunny skin tone, maybe just like a one drop or half of a drop, and I will just mix this color well in the green, and this will be my final highlight. I will apply this only on the most raised areas of the muscles and on the face. For the Morlock skin, I will use a Stormhost Silver as my highlight. This will be one and only highlight on it, and I will try to cover just like 50% of the area that I did before, but I will mostly focus on raised areas. For the grey pants and actually all the clothing, I will use again a black and white mix, but this time I will mix it with a little more white to get a little brighter tone of grey. And now I will go over the pants, but just do a very light highlight on the raised areas. I will use it to highlight the shoes as well, and I will use this paint to start highlighting the weapon. Just doing the edge highlight on it. Now it's time to do the final highlight on the weapons. So for this I will use pure white, and I will do the edge highlight on every single sharp edge that these weapons have. I will mostly focus on using the side of my brush, trying to make the like 90 to 45 degrees angle and just pulling the straight line. When that is not possible, I will just use a tip of my brush with very little paint on it, and I will try to highlight those spots. For the magazines and gun barrels that I want to look a different metal color, and as well for the armor of the Riot Girl, I will take Periscopes and add more than a few drops of water just to create a wash, and then I will lightly wash them. I will use actually a very light wash on these models. While I'm waiting for that wash to dry, I will use light sea blue and I will start working on the LEDs that they have on their gauntlets. So I will just go with the light sea blue and just try to paint the middle of that LED light. Try to avoid the recesses and try to avoid the edges that we already painted white. Now, after the periscope's wash has been dried properly, I will just go back to the white and do a final edge highlights just to highlight those areas, both on the Riot Girl and on all the weapons. Since we are getting close to the finish, it's time to work on some details. So for the beginning, I will start working on the swords. I will switch between the Periscopes light sea blue and the sky blue, and I will just start layering those paints. First I will layer Periscopes, and then I will cover less area with the light sea blue, and then even less area with the sky blue. And to finish the highlight, I will just pick up a white, and I just do a very light edge highlight. I will very quickly paint the eyes by painting the eye sockets white first, then using dark tone as my wash and wash the eye sockets. And after the wash has been dried, I will just use black and put a dot in the middle of the eye. And to finish with the bases, I will just dry brush a Jokero Orange on them, just to create a highlight. You can do this multiple times. The more times you do it, it will be brighter. So I did a couple of times until I was satisfied with the level of brightness on my bases. So at this moment we are almost 9.5 hours into this project. Only things that are left now is to transfer the models to their bases, and that will be it. If you are watching my channel often, you know that I always pin my models to the bases, so I will do that now. I will just cut the original pegs that they have under the legs and make little pins, and then I will drill holes in the bases and just glue them inside. And the last thing is to paint the rim of the base. Always paint your rims. I'm always painting them black, so I will do this here as well. And for the last detail that I decided to do in the last moment, I'm going to use some Vallejo pigments. This will be a burnt sienna, which is actually the same shade as my base. So I will just create some dust, in fact, on their legs. Just pick up some old brush and take the pigments from the pot and just spread them around the lower parts of the legs of the models. And that's it, these models are done. Let's just look at the clock. So I managed to do them in exactly 10 hours. And that's it. I have to say this was a very fun project, and I really enjoyed doing it like this. I didn't want to do them really fast because I could do them much faster if I did it with the contrast paints, but I wanted to take my time and to see like if I want to do a normal and decent paint job, how much time will this take me? And I have to say that I'm pretty happy with the end result. If I deduct the time that I used for assembling models, cleaning and doing the bases, it should be around like 8 hours, which is a little more than 1 hour per model, which is really acceptable. And guys, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content from me. And if you have any suggestions or you would like to see any other starter pack or any other pack painted like this, like with the time counter, please let me know in the comment section down below and I will do my best. This is all for now, guys. Happy holidays, take care, stay safe and see you soon. Bye bye.